You know that feeling, right? You ask an AI for a clear, direct answer, and what you get back is, well, anything but. You ask for a marketing strategy, and it writes you a novel about all the possibilities. It's one of the biggest frustrations with this amazing tech. But here's the good news. It is fixable. So let's fix it. Yeah, does this sound just a little bit familiar? You ask for one solid recommendation, and instead you get this kind of verbal Heisman. The AI serves up a whole buffet of options, but it completely refuses to tell you which one to actually eat. It's vague, it's non-committal, and let's be honest, it's totally useless when you have a real decision to make. So that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why is this incredibly powerful tool so, well, timid? Here's the secret. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And by the end of this, you're not only going to understand exactly why it happens, but you'll have a step-by-step method to completely override it and get the decisive answers you actually need. To solve this, we first have to give the problem a name. And the best way to think about this AI behavior is what we're going to call the scared lawyer problem. Trust me, this analogy is the absolute key to understanding everything else. Just imagine a brand new lawyer who's been told, look, your number one job is to avoid risk at all costs. That right there is your AI. It has been trained from the ground up to avoid being definitively wrong no matter what. So this isn't some glitch in its programming, it's more like a personality flaw that we've given it. And the good news is we can fix it. So let's dig into the why. Why would anyone program an AI with the personality of a terrified lawyer in the first place? Well, the reasons are actually very deliberate, and they all come down to a few core directives from the people who made it. Now, the technical term for all this cautious language is hedging. It's a way of talking that wraps an answer in so much uncertainty that it can't possibly be proven wrong. So when you see those sketchy words like it could be argued, on the one hand, or the all-time classic, it depends, that is the AI hedging. It's a dead giveaway that its safety protocols are calling the shots. This really pulls back the curtain on the AI's internal logic. The engine builders, the developers behind these models, they have two huge fears: spreading dangerous misinformation and getting sued. So to stop that from happening, they've hardwired a prime directive into the AI's internal legal department, and it goes like this. It is way better to be non-committal and useless than it is to be confident and wrong. That one rule explains almost every single frustratingly vague answer you've ever gotten. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Our AI is a scared lawyer. So how do we fix it? We perform what's called a confidence injection. This is a powerful, repeatable workflow that lets you override the AI's default caution and instead program it for conviction. And this workflow is beautifully simple. It's just 3 steps. First, you spot the hedging. Second, you assign the AI a new, more decisive role. And third, you demand a single justified conclusion. That is it. So let's break down exactly how to nail each step. This is the point where you, the user, stop being a passive question asker and become an active expert driver. You are about to take control of this conversation, fire that timid lawyer, and hire a decisive CEO who actually knows how to make a call. Step 1 is all about recognition. You just need to train your ear to catch these weasel words, those sketchy phrases the AI uses to avoid making a commitment. The second you see there are several factors to consider, you know the scared lawyer is in the room. And that is your cue to step in and take charge. Now, this right here is the power move. You're not just asking a different question. You are changing the AI's entire job description. You are firing the timid analyst who just gives you vague possibilities, and you are hiring a leader whose only job is to make a final call and take responsibility for it. So, what kind of roles can you assign? It completely depends on your context. For a business problem, cast it as a CEO, or maybe a military strategist. For a creative question, make it an award-winning director. For a technical choice, tell it it's a lead architect. See, by assigning a role where being decisive is a core requirement, you're basically giving the AI the permission it needs to bypass its own safety rules. The final step is to program the conclusion. You combine that new role with a highly structured command. And you gotta notice the key phrases here. Do not list multiple options. That's a negative constraint that makes hedging pretty much impossible. Provide the single best course of action. That's a direct order. And justify your choice. That forces it to show its work. This whole structure leaves zero room for waffling. Now, this technique is incredibly powerful, which means, we have to talk about responsibility. Forcing a definitive-sounding answer from a system that thinks in probabilities is not a small thing. You really need to understand the risks. Let's be very clear about this. The hedging and the cautiousness are there for a reason. They're safety rails. When you use the confidence injection, you are intentionally bypassing those rails. You're the one telling the AI, "Don't worry, I'll take the risk." And that makes you the expert driver, which means you are accountable for where you steer it. This means you have to know when to use this technique, and more importantly, when not to. It is perfect for low-risk, strategic, or creative decisions. Things like brainstorming a marketing slogan or picking a creative path. It is dangerous and should not be used for high-risk areas like medical diagnosis or financial advice, where that uncertainty is actually a critical piece of information. The goal here is to overcome stylistic hedging, not to create a false sense of certainty about objective facts. And this is the bottom line. The AI is a tool. It's an amazing advisor that you've just programmed for confidence, but it is not an oracle. You, the expert driver, are always the one accountable for the final decision. Never forget that. So there you go. You have the complete workflow. You now know why your AI is so timid, and you have a 3-step method to transform it into a decisive partner. The only question left is, now that you know how to fire that scared lawyer, who will you hire to take its place?